Good afternoon. Today, at approximately 11:54 a.m., Milwaukee police officers were looking for an individual that was wanted for violating a felony domestic abuse injunction on the 1100 block of West Keefe Avenue. Officers observed that wanted suspect and approached him, at which time the suspect fled on foot and a foot pursuit ensued. During the pursuit, the suspect fired shots at the officers. An officer returned fire. However, it does not appear that anyone was struck during the exchange of gunfire. The suspect continued to flee and discharged his firearm at officers again. Officers did not return fire during this subsequent encounter. Ultimately, the suspect fled into a backyard of the 3500 block of North 11th Street, at which time he had discharged a firearm at his head, fatally wounding himself. After officers approached the suspect, for officer safety, the officers stabilized the suspect with a tactical ballistic shield when the suspect's firearm inadvertently discharged, subsequently striking the officer nearby. The suspect's firearm was recovered. The suspect, a 43-year-old man, Milwaukee man, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The officer that was struck is a 36-year-old male with over 5 years of service. He was transported to the hospital for treatment of non-fatal injuries. The Milwaukee Police Department Homicide Division is leading the investigation. This is a fluid and ongoing investigation. The Milwaukee Police Department sends our thoughts and prayers to our officer. We wish him a speedy recovery and are very proud of all the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department for their professionalism. We also like to thank the Milwaukee Fire Department for providing prompt medical attention to our officer. This time we'll take any questions.
Chief, can you explain again how this officer ended up injured?
So this is still a fluid investigation. We're still trying to figure out how that all occurred while the suspect was being stabilized. We understand that basically at that moment there was a firearm that went off, but we're still working on getting the full details as this investigation is still ongoing.
Was that firearm the suspect's?
We believe that the firearm was the suspect's.
Is that suspect dead at the time or still alive?
We don't know at this time. It's still being investigated. We know that the medical examiner's office is here. We're going to be working in tandem with them to figure out, again, what was all the dynamics of how that firearm went off.
There could have been an intentional shot then?
At this time is unknown in regards to what the details are, so we're still working on figuring out what the details are, working in conjunction with the medical examiner's office.
How many officers were involved in the foot chase and how many ended up firing their weapons?
So there was a number of officers. Remember, we were looking for an individual on a felony domestic violence injunction. So this is someone who has done some physical harm. So we understand the dangerousness of it. Understand that there was a number of officers. We don't know the full number, but that was at the time there was a number of officers looking for the suspect.
How's the officer doing? Who's in there?
We believe that he is unstable and good spirits, but at this time he's been hospitalized.
Give someone else a chance.
And when you say officers were stabilizing the suspect, can you just kind of talk about what goes into that and what might have led to the gun discharge?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
When you say officers were stabilizing the suspect and that's when the gun discharged, can you kind of just talk about what that process looks like?
So looking at this situation as a felony suspect, a number of resources are being utilized. At the time when they were responding, they had help from many different units, one being our tactical enforcement unit. So when you talk about stabilizing, they were using those particular techniques and expertise to help ensure that the scene will be safe. So we don't know the exact number of officers being utilized, but I know that there was a number of resources being deployed. Again, this was a dangerous situation. We're dealing with a situation of an individual wanted for a domestic violence injunction. So we need to understand that we want our officers to be safe and that we want our officers to go home.
What alerted police to this location? Was there a 911 call, or was there somebody who said this person was in the area, or how did you know that they were here?
So this was a proactive investigation. This was a individual who was out wanted on a violation of a VOP, a violation of what's it called, probation or domestic violence injunction. So this was a situation where we knew that this individual was in the area. There was resources being utilized to actually proactively or go after him to take him into custody. So this was not just a random or like a phone call, but this was an investigation because we realize the challenges that we're seeing in regards to our city dealing with domestic violence situations and the violence thereof.
And how long have you been searching for this suspect?
At this time, I know that we've been searching for a couple of weeks, so this was, again, an ongoing investigation.
How many gunshots were fired?
What was that, sir?
How many gunshots were fired?
At this time, it's unknown. I know that we are still looking at this as an active investigation, so we know that there was a number of shots fired on both sides, meaning the officers and also the suspect, but we will be, again, looking for all the shots that were fired during this investigation. Thank you.
Chief, earlier you said officers did not fire any shots?
No, I did not say officers did not fire any shots. There was exchange of gunfire. At the time when they initially had engaged the subject, he had fired and they had returned fire during that initial incident. And during the time, the individual, the suspect, fired a couple of times while the officers were still chasing after him to take him to custody.
Where was the officer?
Thank you.